Hello, I'm Chris Lapadelos Anastasiopoulos, and this is Man Free World. And today we're going to be talking about how to cure writer's block. I growing up, it was a super major trope in all the TV's shows and stuff that the writers would have writer's block. And I was like, oh, why would you have what writer's block? There's like a billion things to talk about. Jesus Christ, what are you talking about? Writer's block. Yeah, so having written books and technical things, and I'm a software developer by trade, so having to write programs and just not wanting to, like, there's parts of the software you just don't want to write. And and also being like, I've also written games and things like that. It's like, how do you come up with that stuff? How do you do that stuff? It's like, well, through that process I figured out how you have a cure for writer's block. So and this is for writers and creators. Anyone's doing creative type of activity, filmmakers, sculptors, any type of artists. I have noticed that artists that call themselves artists are oftentimes very lazy or unmotivated for whatever reason. I don't know. They want to call themselves an artist or whatever. But the ones that are true artists, I've noticed, they work. All right. So that's one thing about this cure is it's not a freaking it's not for lazy people at all. At all. So you have to work a lot. Next thing is there are no shortcuts. Quit looking for shortcuts. Stop with the shortcuts. Stop with the quick fixes. Stop for the one weird trick bullshit. That also means this AI bullshit. Quit with that. Stop with the AI. The fast wins. No, you can use them later on, but in this stage, no, no. So what you want is to know is like habits drive inspiration. So having a habit is what will bring the muse to whatever that is that makes your brain or whatever the spiritual thing that happens that makes you have an insight that gives you the enough gumption to want to go like create and do all this fucking work. Yeah, that you have to have a habit of working. So the thing is, you don't write enough. You want to be a writer? You gotta write. You want to be a painter? You're gonna paint. That means most of the stuff you're gonna do is garbage. I don't know if you've studied how artists and people that actually make things. They make a lot of crap that you never see. You see like the top 1% of what they do, 0.1%. Look at my GitHub. Look at all the stuff that's in there. Like, that was just the stuff I started from about 10 years ago. There's a whole pile before that wasn't even saved anywhere. It's on a floppy disk in some landfill somewhere. Doesn't matter. It's got me to this point where I can make what I want to make now. So you got to write. And that's the thing. That's the thing. Is like you got to work a lot. You're not working enough. That's the problem. Is you're not working enough. You're not putting in the work. And when I say putting in the work, I'm talking about copying. The cure this cure involves copying by hand minimum 5 stories that you think that you want to write. The kind of story that you want to write, the length you want to write, you have to copy them by hand. That means it's going to take a while. Yeah, it's going to take a while. And you can't type them. You have to write them. You only have to do 5. After this 5, you'll never have to do this again. You'll never have to do this, but if you have to do you have to do this 5. And how I discovered this method is this is how I just started doing stuff as a kid. When I wanted to go like I wanted to make what did I want to make? I wanted to make little books. I wanted to make software guides for my software that I was writing when I was a kid. And my mom was like, "Well, like how does that stuff look?" It's like, "Oh, I just started copying it. I looked at the book and I copied it. And I looked at the book, copied, and it was a really bad copy. The first one. I mean, eventually I was writing software manuals that looked like they were written by a professional. I'd never taken a class or any course. I just had been writing this stuff for so long. It was just the next thing to do. It was like, oh, I already know how to do that. So Yeah, so if you don't know that part if you're just literally copying word for word as you go through it, yeah, that's a good trick. That I don't know why this isn't a thing. It's like you don't have to come up with your own stuff. You can just do it by hands. So that actually gets your brain in the mode of I am a writer because I am writing. Now it's somebody else's stuff, but you still have to process it and look at it and read it and write it and do the thing. And you're sitting down, you're spending time concentrating on doing this thing. And eventually, after like one or two of those books or stories, short whatever thing you're doing, after you copy them that many times, then maybe the first two you copy by hand, but maybe the third one you can start changing things. Maybe change the names, the locations, the dates, the settings, things like that. Don't change the plot right away. Keep try and keep the plot the same, but you can start changing it, changing that stuff, which is fun to do. And it starts engaging your brain in a different way, and you start wanting to change the story. Don't change the story yet. Don't change the plot yet. You can start just changing the characters and how things look and things like that. You can change the surface level, but actually, this is what I started doing with with software. I would copy somebody's idea and I'd change how it looked. I still do it today when I want to learn something. That's how I do it. That's how I put my imprint on it. And that's how I get my way of doing. And I'll change how it kind of works a little bit, but it'll be something core somebody else did. Most software is written like this. There's just copies of copies of copies of stuff, and everyone puts their twist on it. And some people have done that so many times that they could basically create whatever. Um, and that's where you want to get to but this is what gets you unblocked. This is what gets you unblocked. It's copying somebody else's stuff, which gets your gears going, forces your brain to be engaged with something. You are doing the work that you will be doing when you're doing your own thing. It's the same exact work, and you just keep doing that. So now here's a little bit of the woo. So writing by hand just drives this habit subconsciously. That's the main idea, and your hand should hurt. Should hurt. It should hurt when you're doing this. So there should be some pain involved. We have to take a break and stop, and it's like it's painful. It's a pain in the ass. You don't really want to do it, but by forcing yourself through it, the length that you're gonna need to do if you really want to write books, this is what you're gonna write at least once time through. And it also lets you when you writing that many words, it starts to get your brain also to condensing down your thought patterns. So your writing is a little more concise and succinct, and you're a little more thought out. And the process of the writing actually imprints. When you're writing it physically, it imprints your personality into it, which just automatically changes it. So that's that kind of like the woo thing that's going on. Why you don't want to type it these first few. You don't want to. You want to actually write them out. Yeah, it makes it look. I mean, once you have that record of the thing that you've done, that writing it out, um, it shows that you've been working. So I keep a notebook of all of as I'm going through doing stuff, sketching ideas. I always have a pen and my notebook here, always available. At all times, I recommend doing that to keep down ideas and when things come up. But this will unblock you because at the end of it, you'll have written these 5 books. You know the copies, but the last few will have your imprinting on it. And after that point, you're probably gonna be able to write whatever you want to do, or paint, or do some project or movie, whatever. And like even do like these TV shows. The way I did the start of this channel, I just started copying. I saw how everybody else was doing, and I copied them. But my stuff doesn't look like anything like theirs because through that process, I started tweaking it, changing it, moving around. But you start by copying. That's where it starts. And uh, if you don't get the if this is how you get the muse to come as well as to sitting down and doing the work. Pushes it through because your subconscious will want to start to change stuff, and that will drive the creativity. But to break through that barrier, you do have to do this process, and it's gonna hurt. Sorry, it's painful. That's why most people don't are probably not gonna do this. Well, just the first part here, the first part's gonna disqualify most people. So that's the cure. Um, let's see. That's about it. Yep. Okay. I'm Chris. This is Man for Your World, and that's how you cure writer's block.